All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about one of the most legendary books on strategy ever written, Sun Tzu's The Art of War. You know, this thing was written on bamboo strips more than 2,000 years ago, but its lessons on discipline, deception, and planning, they are just as razor-sharp today. And believe me, it's not just for generals on a battlefield. It's for boardrooms, for politics, and honestly, just for navigating life itself.
So, let me ask you a question. It sounds like the beginning of a joke, right? How do you turn 180 laughing concubines into a disciplined army? Well, this was a very real test that a king once put to Sun Tzu to see if his big ideas were all just talk. And the answer? Well, the answer reveals the absolutely brutal but brilliant core of his entire philosophy. This story is the perfect place to start. Why? Because it's a masterclass in what Sun Tzu believed was the absolute non-negotiable foundation for any kind of success: unbreakable discipline. It's a pretty stark and honestly unforgettable lesson. So picture this. Sun Tzu's book is starting to get famous, and the ruler of the state of Wu, King Hulu, is curious. He reads Sun Tzu's claim that anyone can be forged into a soldier through proper discipline. The king is skeptical, so he decides to call his bluff. He asks, "Even women?" Sun Tzu's answer? A simple yes. The king, just to make things interesting, gives Sun Tzu 180 of his own palace concubines to prove his point. Sun Tzu, without missing a beat, divides them into two companies. And then, in what you have to admit is a pretty bold move, he appoints the king's two absolute favorite concubines to be their commanders. So Sun Tzu gets them all lined up, gives them weapons, and explains the basic drill commands. He then barks the first order, turn right. And the response? Crickets. Well, not crickets, just giggling. They look at each other and just burst out laughing, like it's the funniest game they've ever played. Now, here's the thing. Sun Tzu stays completely calm. He patiently explains the order again, making sure everyone understands. He gives the command one more time, and the result? Exactly the same. More giggling. This is the moment where the test isn't just for the women anymore. It's a test of Sun Tzu's own core beliefs. And this is where the whole story pivots. Sun Tzu doesn't get angry at the women. Instead, he says this. He basically says, look, if the orders are clear but they aren't followed, that's not the soldier's fault. The failure lies with the leadership. And he doesn't just say it, he acts on it. He orders the execution of the two commanders, who, remember, are the king's favorite women. The king, who's been watching all this from his pavilion, is completely horrified. He sends a panicked message begging Sun Tzu to spare them. But Sun Tzu sends a message back, saying that once a general is in the field, he has to be able to enforce discipline, even if it means ignoring an order from the sovereign. The execution is carried out. He appoints new commanders, and then he gives the order again. This time, the effect is electric. Every single woman follows every command, right, left, forward, back, with absolute, silent, perfect precision. In that moment, they had become an army. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that was intense. And you're right. But that shocking story perfectly sets up the massive paradox at the very heart of the art of war. It's actually not about fighting. It's about creating a situation where you win before a fight can even begin. See, for Sun Tzu, discipline wasn't just about punishment or making people obey. It was a psychological weapon. It was the tool you use to build a force that is so organized, so effective, and frankly, so intimidating that your opponent just looks at you and thinks, you know what? No way. I'm not fighting that. You break their will to even try. And this is where it all clicks into place, right? The method can seem incredibly harsh, as we just saw, but the ultimate goal isn't violence. The ultimate goal is actually peace. It's about being so prepared for war that you never actually have to wage it.
This right here is probably the most famous line from the entire book, and it just sums up everything we've been talking about. The greatest general isn't the one who wins 1,000 battles. The greatest general is the one who makes it so battles are never necessary in the first place.
All right, so we get the big idea, but how do you actually do it? How do you achieve that supreme excellence? Well, Sun Tzu didn't just give us philosophy, he gave us a concrete, practical toolkit of strategies. Let's open it up. First thing in the toolkit, and it's the most important, knowledge. Sun Tzu's logic here is just so brilliantly simple. If you know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and you know your enemy, victory is pretty much guaranteed. If you only know yourself, it's a 50-50 shot. And if you know neither yourself nor your enemy, well, you're just setting yourself up to lose. every single time. So, how do you get all this crucial knowledge about the enemy? Simple. Intelligence. Spies. In fact, Sun Tzu called spies the single most important asset of a ruler. And get this, he broke them down into 5 different types, including converted spies. That's when you turn an enemy agent to your side. To him, information wasn't just a weapon, it was the most valuable weapon. Okay, so now you know everything about your enemy. The next step, you manipulate what they think they know about you. This is the second pillar of his strategy, and it's a big one: deception. And this is where it gets into some serious psychological warfare. This is all about controlling the narrative, managing perception. If you're strong, make the enemy think you're weak so they get overconfident. If your army is a well-oiled machine, make it look like a chaotic mess to lure them into a trap. It's all about making your opponent react to a reality that you have completely fabricated for them. And the final piece of the toolkit is efficiency. Sun Tzu was crystal clear on this point. Long, drawn-out wars are a complete disaster. They drain your money, they destroy your people's morale, and they weaken the entire country, even if you technically win. The goal is always, always a swift, decisive victory. As he said, no country has ever benefited from a prolonged war. So what's so incredible is that these ideas, discipline, intelligence, deception, speed, they didn't just stay in ancient China. They have been on this unbelievable journey through time, and they are more relevant now than ever. I mean, just look at this path. It starts on bamboo scrolls in China. 1,000 years later, it makes its way to Japan, where it becomes the Bible for the samurai. Then, in the 18th century, it gets translated into French and is supposedly read by Napoleon himself. And today, it's everywhere. It's required reading in business schools, it's used by football coaches, it's quoted by political strategists. Its wisdom is timeless. And this quote right here, this is really why it endures. The art of war isn't just a set of rules, it's a mindset. It teaches you to look at any situation, no matter how chaotic or hopeless it seems, and find the strategic advantage. It's about turning a bad situation into a winning one. Because in the end, the art of war isn't really about war, it's about strategy. It challenges every single one of us to look at our own lives, our careers, our goals, and ask, what are the battles I'm facing? And more importantly, how can I win them not through brute force, but through better planning, deeper knowledge, and smarter strategy? How can I win without even having to fight?